that we are not going to do the food and the fuel subsidies whatsoever. So we are past the subsidies itself. But bearing in mind that we have to wait for the international market to stabilize those prices, can we have something else?
Okay.
Having ideas of having ourselves regulating our own fuel, you know? Because when the fuel is a little bit, the price is a little bit conducive, we could be having silos that maybe have, or tanks that have fuel, so that we may be able to have at least 2 or 3 months just as we wait for the international market prices to stabilize.
I think that will be very difficult to achieve, considering the fact that the high fuel prices is something that is now global. And again, going by the fact that, I mean, the war in Ukraine and the shortages of dollars in the market. And again, you know, with the war in Ukraine now, Kenya is not able to export some of this, I mean, fuel from these war-torn areas. So, to me, I think we need to give the government time, wait for, because I know things are going to be good. So I think let us get down to business, give the government time to, because what the government is doing is very sustainable. And again, your suggestion, I think that will be very difficult to achieve, because when you look at the East African countries, no countries has ever done that and succeeded. So I think we just have to
for now, you have to tighten
wait,
our belts.
Yeah, to tighten our belts and wait for the government to come up with the sustainable, I mean, with the policy that can sustain the country. Yeah, that's my...
All right. Mheshimiwa Kimaiyo, as we wait, you are the first person to say that we need to give this government ample time, and also Mheshimiwa has concurred. We need a little bit of more time, and maybe in January, February. We are talking about maybe. And the international market is solely dependent on what is happening, and especially the Russia and Ukraine war has exacerbated the situation. But in the meantime, as we wait, do we have any solution?
Yes, I said we give government time, but the government is trying through other means to reduce the cost of living. President is launching the Hustler Fund December 1. Those are part of the mitigation measures, trying to reduce the cost of living. Yes, as my colleague has said, the issue of fuel is not just to Kenya alone. This is something now controlled by international markets. What the government just is concerned is about up to how much or up to when can we have this subsidy program, because we are losing money as a country every day, but we are not benefiting the country, we are benefiting some few individuals through the subsidy program. So as the government tries to do away with the subsidy program, it's also coming up with other ways of trying to ensure that the cost of living comes down. And especially now, if you talk about the issue of fertilizer, which the president said, we give fertilizer to farmers to take advantage of the short rains that you're witnessing now. So as food prices also comes down, when we have plenty of it, the cost of living will come down. So this will assist in mitigating the issue of fuel also, because the fuel has made the cost of living to go up. So as I said, we give the president and the new administration some ample time. I know from early next year, things will come down a little bit. And also, we saw yesterday also, through the Treasury, they're trying to reduce the budget and remove things that are not necessary at the moment, like traveling, air ticketing, reducing the issues of going for trainings, so that the government can save some money to allow it use for other things. I also add the minister for the Treasury minister to talk about we stop new projects. We concentrate on all the projects, ongoing projects. Those are some of the things that will allow the government to have some money, and it will, in the long run, assist in bringing the cost of living come down as we tackle on the issue of fuel. And as my colleagues have said, the issue of fuel is not to Kenya alone. We see that a barrel of oil in terms of dollar has gone up internationally. The issue of the war in Ukraine is not assisting us also. The OPEC countries which produce this oil also are saying they're limiting supply because they're watching what's happening globally. So am I pleased to give the new government some time?
All right.
Yeah.
Mheshimiwa, let's now have a look at the security situation in the country. And it's not only in Nairobi.
Yes.
We've seen issues in Nakuru as well, in many counties, and especially in big towns. We are having a serious security challenge. A lot has been discussed on social media in regards to the security there, because others are talking about, we had not had a substantive operation. We did have a CS for interior. We were at least waiting for the vetting exercise and stuff. Talking about the issue of the special unit that was disbanded by the head of state. If you look at the social media, they're talking about a lot of police officers. Now they are living in fear. Could I be victimized? Could I do something that would maybe cause something else? So they are kind of scared to do their work as they should, because they fear that maybe there could be reprisals. I would like you to pick your mind on that.
I think the police should never be afraid of doing their work, because they've been stopped doing things which were not legal. The policemen can still do their work in a constitutional, legal, professional manner and still maintain security. It's happened all over the world when police force is professionalized. It doesn't mean that if you've stopped the police from, extrajudicial killing, then it's an excuse for police,
But far from it.
Yes.
Not as an excuse, because I was in court when the 9 officers were charged, and we expect the big guys to be here, but what we saw were just the guys who are told go and do. We do not have the big faces behind all that was happening. So right now they could be maybe having some fear in regards to how they work.
Yeah, let's put this whole security question in context. First of all, what security are we talking about, and for who, and by who? When we talk about security, we tend to think it's just about physical security, where somebody has taken a gun or a machete and injured somebody else. The whole question of human security, the things that people need to survive, and lack of it, and what it can cause to the human security aspect of our people. For example, if you're hungry, you are jobless, you can't pay rent, and you're facing death, definitely you'll if you can't meet some of your needs conventionally, you'll try to find ways and conventional means of,
You're saying the harsh economic times.
Times, poverty, runaway poverty, the suffering that Kenyans are suffering. We may think we are peaceful in some areas, but we are largely an unpeaceful society, because so long as there are people who are going days without food, people are going jobless, and they have no hope of getting jobs at all. People who don't have any hope of seeing a change in their situation will always have this question of insecurity coming up and time and again, and especially in our slum areas. In our pastoral areas, like for example where I come from in northern Kenya, because of the drought, people who are hitherto enemies are now moving and coming in proximity with each other in a small area where there is pasture and water. This is becoming a source of insecurity. So this whole question of insecurity, we need to put it in a context and look at the bigger picture. The police, yes, the question around intimidation and fear in performing your duties, especially in a situation where crime is high, it is a genuine concern. But the bigger picture is all Kenyans feel insecure now, if not from physical harm, You feel insecure from your own human security situation. You're afraid you will sleep hungry, the children will sleep hungry. You're afraid you might not get medication because perhaps there are no drugs in the hospital. You're afraid maybe you will be victimized and harassed and put behind bars when you're innocent. Those insecurities are also real, and we need to look at the bigger context and the bigger picture to be able to address this question of security. And security, like it has always been said, it begins with me and you.
Yes, and it's a good thing that I have two gentlemen and MPs who hail from a region where we have had security challenges, coming from the north and from Keiyo. And I want to pick your mind on this. The head of state did actually warn those perpetrating cattle rusting and cases of insecurity in the Keiyo Valley and also in the country at large. I do remember back in the early 80s we had the Mashifta, but the government moved with speed to quell that, and we've never heard of them ever since. But when we talk about the Rift Valley, how many cops have been killed? Over 100? How many people have been killed? Maybe thousands. But that is a recurring problem each and every season, which is more exacerbated by when we have drought and when we have elections. Mheshimiwa.
Thank you. The issue of security is one of the paramount functions of any government. Any government exists to protect its citizens and at the same time protect the property of its citizens. And in most cases, our government fails when it no longer provides security for its citizens. If you look at failed states, there's no security. But as a country, we have not reached there. We still have a proper functioning government, and that's why we have the president. We saw the new minister for interior, sworn in the previous week. The PS for internal security also was, vetted yesterday by government, by parliament, sorry. And we have the new commissioner of police. So, in my thinking, I think some few characters were taking advantage of the change of regime. And some few individuals also within the security sector were sympathetic to the previous regime. And because of the fear of, some will be transferred, some will be demoted or something like that because of the new regime, some are kind of supporting the system. Some few individuals, not all. The police service is professional, but some few individuals within might not be doing what they are supposed to be doing. And especially now when government said, yes, we must tackle security, but we must tackle security within the ambits of the rule of law, because we exist in a country where we have a constitution. So when the new government suspended SSU, I think there are some few sympathizers within the system who are not happy with that, and they're saying, oh, okay, if you're doing this to us, we will also revenge in some way silently. But having said that, I know there are some other things also which are catalyzing the issue of insecurity, like the cost of living, the unemployment. Many youths are unemployed at the moment. So some few people are, not even few, many people are desperate. They are desperate and they want to earn a living. I tell you now, you cannot walk into a slum here in Nairobi. Just like you will get out of there without clothes because you are hungry.
Yes, and Mheshimiwa, there's something that on Friday we were swearing in Japheth Koome at the Supreme Court, and I remember one of the things he said, we are going for the cattle rustling lords, and he did mention that a lot of insecurity in the Rift, it's not only the bandits themselves. There are some people, there are some big faces behind these people who are arming these people, who are providing finances for this dangerous act, including politicians.
For a while now, we've had those rumors that there are people who are benefiting from cattle rustling, especially in an area where I come from. I come from Elgeyo Marakwet County. And in the border of Elgeyo Marakwet, West Pokot, Baringo, and the Turkana on the other side, there has always been the issue of cattle rustling, which is now for years. But we've had these rumors here and there. I'm looking forward to that day the government or the minister can table and say officially through our intelligence systems, so and so and so is benefiting from this cattle rustling. For now, it's just rumors. So I cannot speak on who is this benefiting from this, but it is my wish that the government can move in fast, because the government has the intelligence system.
Yes.
But the government can know who is doing all this manner of things. And the deputy president has expressed himself also very clearly that whoever is benefiting from this will come for you. We've had even rumors that some people are taking the animals which are stolen all the way to Sudan. We've had those rumors. But now, who can tell us whether this is true or not? It's the government. Because the government has the apparatus to tell us who is this benefiting from this. Because this is systematic. Why is it happening like this, and this every now and then? But as we speak about this also, the issue of cattle rustling also requires that area to be opened up. I expect the government to invest in infrastructure in that area. Let's have schools in the places of Tiati.
But we have seen schools, some in your region have already been closed because of insecurity.
Yes, but you see, schools are there, but they're very few. So that we have these children who are growing up knowing that you can only get rich or wealth through the gun, because they don't go to school. So that we don't have a transition every year of new or the junior generation coming in to continue with cattle rustling. So as we tackle the immediate, the government can send troops to the region, disarm those who have illegal guns. Let's also think the future. The permanent solution is opening up that area. Let's have security roads done in those areas. So that, because now, these bandits, what they usually do, they go in, they know the road is only one. So even if the police are chasing them back, like what happened in Barakoi, they just go and stay in a certain hangar where they know they will come and pass here, they attack the security. But if we have several routes, we can even open up security routes. It will assist our security in tackling this menace. And also this requires political goodwill. I expect the leaders that come from these regions also to lead from the front. Let's see the leaders from West Pokot, from Keiyo Marakwet, from Baringo, and from Turkana, be on the front championing for peace, like what happened when we had this problem also previously. We saw the leaders going around all together, so that Mwananchi can see if our leaders are united. But if all our leaders are talking in different directions, what do you expect of the common citizen?
And we're still going to be touching more on security, because at the end of the day, there are some suggestions that we are not using what we have. The good thing, let's go even to the Rift. We have drones, we have intelligence, we have choppers, but we are not fully utilizing this. There's something you wanted to add, Mheshimiwa, before I go to Moses?
Yeah, let me add something. I concur with my friend, Mheshimiwa. This question of security laced with drought and the perennial problems that we have seen in the Rift and also in the Northeast, generally northern Kenya, is a problem that actually requires attention immediately. You see, we've just had the COP27 in Egypt, and the whole world has been discussing about climate change and the impact of climate change. Part of the problem why we're suffering in this part of the world and the insecurity has become a runaway problem is because, one, climate change has combined with politics. That is bad politics. I agree with you. There's a lot of incitement even from politicians. Like for example, what happened recently in Kitui when there were conflict between herders and farmers. You saw how politicians took center stage instead of diffusing the tension. They were agitating for some Kenyans to be displaced from some parts of the country, and that can only fuel more conflict rather than resolving the problem. So bad politics and resource scarcity is a major problem that is contributing to all of this. And maybe it's high time. I know the Kenya Kwanza government has a very, very serious agenda for northern Kenya, and definitely something will be done in the next 5 years. But the past regimes have given lip service to the problem of northern Kenya. Now, let me tell Kenyans, especially when we talk of drought and insecurity in northern Kenya, why is northern Kenya important, and why Kenyans must, put attention in northern Kenya. First of all, northern Kenya is home basically those ASAL counties we're talking about, is home to about 10 million Kenyans. That is a fifth of Kenya's population lives in those ASAL counties. And northern Kenya is the main, livestock production area of this country. And livestock contributes about 13% of our national GDP. It's a very important industry that needs to be protected. Kenyans consume about 600,000 metric tons of beef every year.
And mostly it's from the
ASAL regions. So if ASAL regions are hit, and livestock sector from the ASAL areas contributes to 50% of the agriculture labor force, and 40% of agriculture GDP. This is the industry we are talking about, which has been neglected, which has been hit and battered by the hardening of economic times, which has been hit by climate change. And it's high time, Kenya stepped up this debate on which didn't come out very clearly in Egypt during COP27. You see, the biggest polluters of our environment, which has contributed to climate change, which has caused us the suffering we're having today, must be made to compensate us.
All right, and we will be talking about the COP27, because they have been flying, big words have been flying in, and some, people want tangible. By tangible, they mean if you litter, you pay. Yes. Because the West is quite littering, and we can see the consequences because of the drought that we have. But we'll be touching about the COP27 and the drought situation in the country a little bit later. I would like to pick Moses' mind in regards to the security situation that we have in the country. And looking at, there's a good thing that we have two legislators from regions that have had issues of security, and I do concur with Mheshimiwa Kore and Kimaiyo that some of the things that insecurity that we've had, taking advantage of the situation, the regime, and also talking of some having some sympathy in terms of what they do. I would like to pick your mind on the current security situation in the country, where at the end of the day, as we say that security begins with you, government has to do something. President has talked about it, has pronounced himself, the deputy president has pronounced himself, and also the CS yesterday, not forgetting the Nairobi governor as well.
So, to me, I think, I beg to differ with my colleagues. I think we need to move away from the focus on poverty. To me, I think poverty has nothing to do with the security or insecurity. Because going by research, a study has been done in Latin American countries, and we realize that those countries, there are serious crimes in Latin American countries, especially Colombia, Argentina. But we realize that these countries are really trying to overcome extreme poverty. But as they do this, insecurity also increases. Rate of crimes. And again, I think one of the factors that maybe could also lead to insecurity is on economic inequality, because some of these people are like, because we have middle class, and the lower class now. So these people are like, no. So I think what the government should do is to try and bridge the gap between the poor and the rich. Because when you look at Nairobi now, I'm being told that some of these muggings and stabbing that are happening in Nairobi is done by street families. So these criminals take advantage of the street families. So they tell you, do this, go snatch phone from Mr. Moses. I'll give you 200 shillings. So they do it. And again, on rustling in Northeastern,
But that seems to be tied to poverty as well. You say that you disassociate.
But
yourself.
okay, but that one is now on the street in street families. But now when you look at it holistically, it has nothing to do, especially in northeastern. You know, okay, going by history, insecurity in northeastern Kenya has been there for a long time. And again, before the castle raiding, we used to have something by the name castle raiding. So, in fact, this phenomenon was seen as a cultural practice. Yeah, it was like a norm. It was usual. You attacking your neighbor because you want to snatch his or her cattle. That was normal. But now it became a big issue when the cattle raiders began to acquire arms from Somalia, Ethiopia, and South Sudan. And these guns are very affordable because, in fact, they normally, I think, they hire AK-47 at a price of 800 Kenyan shillings only. So that's affordable.
So you're blaming it more on the porous border as opposed to the levels of the economy. And I'm quite sure because the Weshiduas are quite are right here. And since you mentioned the north and also the rift, I think it's fair enough for you guys to respond. Yes.
I think our brother is contradicting himself a little bit, and my colleague here will agree with me. He's saying we don't blame poverty as such, but some percentage also will go to poverty because people think only poverty is only in our country. There are people who live here in towns and they cannot even afford a meal. So in our country you can go and borrow something. People live in a communal way. What happens in a town, in a city where you don't know anybody? People will be forced to snatch from people. I'm not sympathetic to the criminals, but I am just discussing and analyzing them. Some might be contributing to what is happening on the streets. But I liked what the governor said yesterday, the governor of Nairobi, Sakaja. And he said, any politician who is going to come to his office and say, we do ABCD because of the criminals, he's not going to listen to that conversation. But all that said, government has a huge responsibility to take care of its citizens. There's no excuse on that. It's only that I said some few people are taking advantage of the new government. And as I said, some few individuals also within the security apparatus are sympathetic to the old regime, and there is laxity to some extent. But I know as the new administration is stamping its authority, now that we have a CS, we saw him yesterday pronouncing himself, even doing some shake-up in terms of the police system within the city. It's just a matter of time. Even the new police commissioner, Koome, told the criminals within the city, we are giving you 1 month to surrender the arms that you have, otherwise we are coming for you. So, at the same time, within the environment that we are working on, the government also wants to work within the frame of law. Because the new administration has pronounced itself very clearly that extrajudicial killings will not be part of this regime.
There's something I've also been able to pick from Moses' sentiments in regards to, and especially the rift. And it's something that you mentioned in regards to, you said that we need to open up the rift.
Yes.
We need to put more schools, because if we have a teenager who the father is a cattle rustler and he's not going to school, what economic activity are you going to tell your kid that you can do this? So the kid will grow up knowing that, well, cattle rustling is also an economic activity. I would like to pick your mind on that.
So, the rift and also the northern part of our country, people think it's a small area. Tiati alone is much, much bigger than even Nairobi. Tiati, which is a constituency, is like another county. Some counties combined. And you can find in these regions, because of the terrain, the road network is poor. You talk about the school infrastructure. You talk about things that we take as a privilege in the city, like electricity. These things doesn't exist in these areas. So a child will grow up knowing that if my father or my friend went to another community and raided some cattle and he became rich, why not me? And as we've had also through the intelligence system, that there are also people who, by financing the same, they go and raid, get these cattle at a price, at a profit, and they sell somewhere. Which that we have said, let's leave that to the security sector to investigate, and not because the security sector has the apparatus to know who is benefiting from this. But the final nail will be it on government. Government has no reason why not to give security to its good people, because it's collecting taxes from the same people. So there is no excuse on this. Government must act. Even if it will be painful.
Yes.
Can I come in before?
Let Mashimua react.
Yes. I think it's unfortunate that some experts in this country still think insecurity in northern Kenya is a normal thing. It's a cultural thing.
An economic activity.
An economic activity. It's far from it. It's very, very unfortunate. And even the examples my friend has given about America and Colombia, the crime that is happening in that country, if you look at the mapping of that crime, you'll see it's in those poor neighborhoods. Among the blacks and those people who have no jobs, those people who are poor. So poverty has a role in insecurity. And some of us who come from some of parts of this country where poverty is really high, you know, we can tell you life stories of how poverty actually contributes. It might not be a trigger, but it is a contributor to insecurity in those regions. So it's I think there is nothing usual about insecurity in northern Kenya. It's a problem that is affecting this nation, and it has to be treated just like it is being treated in other parts of this country.
And do you believe we need radical solutions to this issue, just like we had for the Mashiftas?
Yes, we do.
And the Porous Borders?
We do. I am a first-time MP, but I've read about contributions in Parliament some time back by legislators who've even, contemplated bringing a bill so that cattle rustling becomes like, a capital, the cattle rustling is punished like a robbery with violence. And
even the AG talked about legislation to ensure that those cattle rustlers are charged with terrorism.
Exactly. We need those kind of punitive measures that will become a deterrent to those people who still think they can steal. You see, in those parts of the world, cattle is our banks. This is just bank on foot. We don't put our money in banks like you do in Nairobi, and therefore our money is walking on foot. And if you don't protect that, so that people can just come and drive it away, and then our experts will come on live national televisions and say that's normal. It's their cultural business. Yes. It's not our normal
it's
business.
Not an economic activity.
This is a crime.
It's a crime.
And there are people who have, specialized in that crime and are fleecing Kenyans. And they are bringing that industry that I talked about earlier with all its contribution to its knees. And I agree, as legislators, I know we are going to, we are new legislators, but we have a different mindset.
Yes.
We are living in a different world from our legislators in the past. We'll definitely do something about this problem. We'll bring laws, bills, legislations that will have to deal with this problem once and for all.
All right. Let me pick on Moses so that we may wrap up on the security challenge. Yes. And in the meantime, my MP is here who could be mulling over the 7.2 billion that is going to be used for the peacekeeping efforts in Congo. Of course, it has generated heat even in Parliament as well. But as you marinate on that, let's have Moses. You wanted to say something in regards to your sentiments earlier.
Yes. Okay, Kenya is a developing country. And again, the issue of insecurity, the monopolies of violence is one of the key elements of the state. And when the government is not able to use its power, yeah, to apply violence, yeah, use of violence. That is, for example, in Somalia, Somalia, as a Syrian politics, we have classified Somalia as a failed state or a weak state because of the failure of the government, yeah, to apply the monopoly use of violence. So that's where you find that in Somalia there are some areas that are ungovernable, yeah, not because of poverty, but because the government is not able to reach out to such areas. So I think what the Kenya Kwanza government needs to do is to focus more on Northeastern, because this area has been neglected by the past regimes. That's very true. And again, one of the solutions could be that instead of sending police to Northeastern, could we please try the KDF, because these people are very professional than the police officers. In fact, with the KDF, when it's instructed to do or to do away with the Moses, you'll automatically do it. But for the police officers, these are, I would call them drama queens, because
without fairness,
yeah,
we are quite secure.
Yeah, because
we haven't been, and bearing in mind that we have countries in the region that are having worse security challenges. Somalia, 4 years. South Sudan, recently. Ethiopia. Now we have some parts of the border between Uganda and the DRC. We have DRC. So without fairness, if we've been sending troops there, our police officers, let's give it to them. They're doing something.
Yes, they're doing something, but in terms of hustling in Northeastern, I think they are not able to achieve the government's objective. Because, and again, the government is also sometimes full of drama, because when a police officer is killed in Northeastern, they withdraw the remaining officers, claiming that...
Do you think the NPR perhaps can help?
The MP?
The NPR.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that could work. But to me, I think the government has tried with the police officers and it has failed.
All right.
So should we
because we need to put
another?
this matter to rest. We have a number of issues that we need to look at.
Fairness, my colleague here is unjustified to say the police have not done. I think we must give also credit to our police. Yeah, as I said, there are just some few elements, some few individuals, but overall the police have acted in. The entire police system has acted in a good way, because even the Northeastern we're talking about, it's now pockets. It's no longer the whole region the way it was in the previous years. My colleague here from Mandera can concur with me. Even when we had issues in Marsabit, we saw in the previous regime how they did it, and I think Marsabit at the moment is peaceful, it's quiet. It's only that some few pockets now in North Rift, the areas of Keiyo Valley, and I think also we had issues with Samburu and the Turkana border on the other side. But let's not condemn the whole police system. We must give police credit, because, as you said, Nairobi is almost quite peaceful. It's just a few markings here and there. And once the new system settles, I know these things will be dealt with. Yeah.
Let's then shift focus to, we are spending 7.2 billion for our soldiers who have gone to help our brothers, the latest entrance into the East African community, that is the DR Congo. And some Kenyans, and even this has ended up in Parliament, where we were being told that it's 7.2 billion shillings, and looking at the situation that we have, if you have 100 shillings, you will not think of something, when you're hungry, you think of what you're gonna get with 100 shillings and eat it fast, as opposed to what we are doing. We are going to keep peace there. We have issues in our rift. We have issues in our homes as well. And the money that is going to be spent, in as much as Kenya has been used for several years in terms of peacekeeping missions, we even had to keep peace in Somalia in 2012, where when Mwai Kibaki sent some soldiers there. We've helped Ethiopia as well, and Southern Sudan, even the peace talks, and even sending troops there. I want to pick your mind on that.
I think largely Kenya, in terms of external aggression, is peaceful. We don't have much threat from the external aggression. Apart from the Al-Shabaab, which was a menace from the northern side, with our border with Somalia, we don't have much of external threat. But we must admit now that we have DRC as part of East Africa. And in East African community, we are championing for free movement of people. So we cannot be safe if we are saying we are part of East African community and we don't want DRC to be safe. So we have to look at the larger picture. Our government sending arms to DRC was something which was agreed by all the East African states, and it's not Kenya alone that is doing that. We must look at the larger picture in terms of even the cost we are talking about, because DRC has a huge population, and it is now, if you're making it part of East African community, you and me can transact with the people of DRC. We can move freely to DRC. We can import things in and out of DRC. So how much of a benefit as compared to 7.2 billion that will cost us in terms of ensuring that DRC is peaceful? So what DRC brings in is much more when you look at the larger picture as compared to what we are investing in terms of our
my point is we should be prudent in as much as we are doing that. We also need to be the same energy that we are putting helping our neighbors. We have also to put out fire in our region as well.
I totally agree with you.
Effort.
I totally agree with you, but you see, the role of the military is not much on the internal security apparatus.
No problem. My point is
we have the police.
Efforts that is being put in terms of sending even troops could be the same efforts that we are using to mobilize our security forces. We are many. We have several. Should the same effort should be put in protecting Kenyans?
I think it's just a matter of time, and you will see the new government doing things.
Maybe I can jump in.
Yes.
This question of insecurity, especially the external aggression, is affecting the region I come from more than perhaps the northwestern part of the country where my Shimura comes from. And I can tell you, it's good for Kenya to meet its regional obligation to contribute troops. But the question also comes in of priority. Right now, I come from a constituency. Sometimes, it's very difficult for you to know the problem that insecurity causes if you have never been affected by that insecurity. So I come from a constituency which is bordering Somalia and has been a hotspot for a long time. As we speak right now, students in my constituency are preparing for national exams, Standard 8 and Form 4. And believe you me, there are some schools that students will be transported from their locality to a safer place to do their exams. There are some places you will need armored vehicles and choppers to move examination material to reach students on some, and you expect them to pass. And it's a standard examination. All Kenyans all over are doing the same type of examination, and this is the problem that we have. When you talk of extrajudicial killing, we have real people we know that have disappeared, that have been killed. Some of them even related to us, that we don't know where they are. So if you are coming from a context like that, and then you are told Kenya will spend 7.2 billion to take our troops to a far foreign land, when we need those troops here to deal with this problem, like for example, why do we take the military to DR Congo when a school in a place called El Ramu on the border with Somalia cannot be protected, and the students will be moved to do examinations in Kutulo, which is at the cost of the parent for all those days of the examinations.
Okay. Kindly hold your thoughts. We really need to take a quick break, but thank you so much for that. Let's have a quick break. We'll be right back with more. We still have the drought situation. We still have the COP. What are some of the things that have come out of COP? Of course, there have been so many people objected to just discussions. We need to see boots on the ground in regards to climate change, and even if it means compensation, Africa is waiting. We still have a lot to talk about in regards to the forthcoming examination in quite a difficult situation. But let's have that first. Bye.